Welcome to Life Saga TV with another recount of death, loss, and the mystery surrounding the death. Justice interrupted. He was a teacher, a father, a husband, and above all, a Kenyan citizen with rights. But Albert Ojwang has remained to be a mystery in the lives of many. Albert Ojwang's life ended not in dignity, but in mystery, pain, and unanswered questions. Who is responsible? What happened in the hours before his lifeless body surfaced at Magadi? This is the untold story of a man whose death ignited a nation's fury. Ladies and gentlemen, from the visuals, Albert Ojwang was a dedicated high school teacher who once enhanced academic growth in Galana Secondary Kilifi, Moi Boys, and Kituma High School in Taita. He taught Kiswahili and religious studies, a respected member of the community in Homa Bay, Kaspu, a husband to a young widow, and a father to a little boy who now stares at life without his hero. His career touched many lives, but no one foresaw how violent the journey would end. The father Meshach Ojwang's account suggests Albert was last taken to Nairobi under the Central Police Station custody. He watched his son being ferried away moments after the mother had served him food. They could not even let him take his last meal and drove him on motorbikes all the way to Nairobi. According to his father, the three motorbikes that came for him had two men on each, indicating a senior officer had asked for him following a post he had made a few days earlier. The father took his title deed and followed them to Nairobi Central Police the day later. On arrival, the officer seemed distanced and unwilling to address him. Albert was picked up by the 6th Directorate of Criminal Investigations officers from his father's compound at Kabondo, Kaspul, Homa Bay County, and he was taken to Mawego Police Station where he stayed briefly before he was moved to Nairobi's Central Police Station where he was questioned by officers on Saturday, June 7th, as per statements of the police. Sources allege a coordinated attempt to sanitize the scene. His body, allegedly moved by the police, was presented as an emergency case, but records inside Magadi tell a different story. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations have yet to publicly reveal the full truth. But why? Questions surround an IG, the complainant of the post, and the figure known as Lagat, allegedly involved in the events that led to Albert's death. Whether complicit or caught in the web, his name keeps resurfacing in accounts from both witnesses and online sleuths. Albert's father rushed to Nairobi the following day, as told earlier, only to be told the son was dead. No official notice, no clarity, only silence and despair. A father's worst nightmare and no answers. The tragedy reverberated across Parliament. The MP of Homa Bay brought the matter to the floor, demanding accountability. She indicated clearly that it's not necessary to keep checking online on what young people have posted. If we can, we could block them. The Senator Halwale and others echoed the same. This is not just death, it's an execution. Transport CS Murkomen called the investigations by critics, saying action has to be taken to match the words. Opposition leader Raila Odinga condemned the incident as a symptom of state gone wrong. Deputy President Gachagua offered condolence but skirted deeper questions. He indicated clearly that he had informed earlier individuals about a formed gang of 101 who were intentionally made by the government to deal with people who would talk against leaders in parliament. President Ruto promised justice, yet no arrests have been made. The silence is deafening. Even though some officers have been arrested and sacked, citizens feel that those who have been sacked are just small fish. The large fish have been spared, supporting the statement Gachagua had earlier indicated as to how they are guarding their own and letting others suffer. Albeit all these protests, Talam, the OCS, Mkwana, and other junior officers have been sacrificed in the cloud. Albert's death has sparked a new fire in Kenya's youth. The Gen Z generation, fed up by brutality and silence, have taken to social media and streets, demands accountability, transparency, and justice. Eric, a close family friend, stepped up raising funds to support the young son left behind. A fatherless child now symbolizes this broken system, and a widow left not just to mourn but to fight. Akothee, the prominent Kenyan, has also been indicated to have shared 500,000 shillings through a philanthropist to the family. Shocking news came in recently when the father was appreciative of the president who had donated 2 million shillings onto this funeral. The citizens did not take that positive as they indicated the man was selling the son for money. However, still others indicated that he would not do anything because he had already lost a son and he would better take that money and develop himself. In the process, Raila Odinga also contributed 1.5 million, while Ojwang, the governor, contributed 1 million shillings. As investigations drag, the country watches. Will IPOA and DCI finally reveal the truth? Or will Ojwang Albert join the long list of names Christians failed? His memory now fuels a movement, but will that be enough to crack the silence? Yesterday, there were a lot of strikes in the city, and in the process, unfortunately, a police fired live bullets to a man who was not even in the demonstrations, but rather selling masks to the demonstrators. What does this symbolize to the Kenyans? Again, from the parliament, it was clear that the man had come from the same ground where Ojwang came from, Homa Bay. Is this a targeted fight? Other common sources have indicated that the police who shot him is a lawyer from Kakamega, indicating that lawyers are being used. Is this a diversion of events? Ojwang Albert was more than a name. He was a father, a teacher, a friend, a Kenyan. His life mattered, and so must his justice. Correct sources indicate that the fight against Albert Ojwang was not just on a social media post, but from an investigation that IG Lagat had been going through for the past 2 weeks. It is clear that a vehicle had driven into national media and done interrogations to the officers who were there to find out why the headlines on the Standard had shown as the IG being the richest. Having bought property with cash, it was clear that the money was from a questionable source. Following the details, a name came up in Kisii from a young man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you conduct a plan with somebody, make sure they are brave enough. The man gave up a name, and the name was Ojwang Albert. The police had to then take a journey to Kaspool and found this young man, and they began to interrogate him on what exactly happened. How did he come up with information, and who were they working for? It is believed that possibly Gachagua is involved in the entire intertwined story. How true this is yet to be known. A day before Albert was killed, Gachagua had been looked for, but he disappeared into thin airs. Having revealed information about the government leaders and how they acquire their money seemed to be a fight he was starting. Ladies and gentlemen, here at Saga TV, we believe in justice. It is a very bad country when extrajudicial killings are allowed to pass without judgment. According to information from other sources, it is indicated that Gachagua was the target here. It is believed by those who conducted this killing that Gachagua was using these people to conduct or report on news such as what had come up in the Standard News. Even though it is now being indicated that there was a post on social media, many Kenyans are just being diverted into this view. But the truth is, whatever had been posted about Lagat was the main issue. Now, many people are asking whether the extrajudicial killings will now be the order of the day or the tall order in Kenya. Given that the broad-bound government has been formed, Gachagua has been seen as a threat to the government of late, with Ruto complain about him standing around or walking around and talking about them. Sudi indicating that he's a rumamonga who walks around with the wife all the time, and him standing and saying he was humiliated in past by the government. We at Saga TV believe that justice will be served. From indications, it has been clear that the controversial news are a cover-up, and of late, it might be also believed that demonstrations which are being now affected in one way or another by goons who are being hired by individuals not very well known is a way to divert the Kenyans' attention. It is also a way to divert from the budget, hence making everything that is covered under there hidden. As we wait for the truth to unravel and investigations to continue, we are not sure whether IPOA and DCI will come up with the correct information. However, Kenyans seem to be determined through the Gen Z demonstrations to make sure that the truth is brought to book. According to Mufana, he was given an order from above to take some prisoners into this room and give him some little discipline. Even though he feared the repercussions, he was told clearly that the DCI and other leaders from above had given an order, and if he dared not to adhere to it, he would face it. Ladies and gentlemen, our question is, why would he not just adhere to it, even if he would lose the job at the end of the day, save life? Was it such a big sacrifice to offer? Many Kenyans are now very questionable about the police, and they would keep a distance or rather attack them at any process. Ojwang's death is not very clear whether he ended up dying in the prison over beatings from fellow prisoners, or whether that day, as indicated, that at 9 they carried him away to Karura Forest where he was beaten and had several injuries, indicated even at arrival at Magadi to have bruises, soft tissue damages, the head having hit by blunt objects, and cardiac impacts. It was such a cruel death that by the end of the day, when the death news were released, everybody was mad at what was happening. No wonder demonstrations went on in Kenya and are still going on. How a prisoner can die in jail, or how he can die in a forest, then brought to Mbagathi, and it's from hitting his head on the wall, it's very ironical, satirical at the same time. From indications from other sources, it is rumored that Ojwang was hit by blunt objects, maybe boots and all sorts of things by the two police, and because the private vehicle was driven into the police before he was picked and taken away, probably to Karura Forest where he was tortured, humiliated, and forced into saying who was he working for. But his silence then had to lead him to death. Once he went to coma, the police must have panicked and then rushed to Mbagathi, where they would now pretend to be seeking his help. On arrival there, the CCTV clearly shows that the police were tensed. They went in, checked, and came back. Then hours later, they took one of the officers from Mbagathi, who then collected a stroller that would assist them to carry the dead body that was in the van in pretense that he was booking in as a patient. It is unfortunate, however, for them because the CCTV were live, and when they were checked, they showed how the police carried the body, a lifeless body cold at the moment, and took into Bagathi. On arrival, the doctor checked and indicated that